The next question is more of a comment. This was a comment on our last video, and I just thought it was just so profound, and it kind of engulfs what we're trying to help. I think we did cover it, but I do just want to bring it up just so we can touch and provide advice, I guess, because so anyway, the comment by Jelly Coding was educated people tend to be atheists, and in 100 years they'll laugh at school about the fact that so many people believed in God in 2022. And
what would you say about this comment?
Yeah,
it's almost, look,
I don't want to touch too much on this, but yeah.
I feel it's sad to the point of being comical. It's clearly been written by somebody who is not aware of Jewish history or the Jewish present, for that matter. I just cited Rambam, Maimonides, whose entire philosophy was that the way in which you get closer to God is through intellectual pursuit. The smarter and more profound your intellect becomes, the closer you get to Kadosh Baruch Hu, right?
Yeah,
so intellect and the divine are actually, for Rambam, entwined, which is why he's, by the way, pictured in the Supreme Court of the United States. Moreover, in Judaism, I find that often people who come to Judaism late in life and become very observant Balei Tshuva, very religious later in life, are hyper-intellectual people. Mathematicians, scientists, doctors.
And for example, Blaise Pascal, Pascal's wager, that was the optimum point in his life where he turned to religion. And I also think with further understanding and intellectual ability, you're able to solve these puzzles and just go deeper in that cake.
So for the people that don't understand, wasn't Pascal's wager essentially it was the idea that chances are you probably don't know whether there's a God or not. You're agnostic, but it makes more sense to believe in a God. Ultimately, logically.
The boxes for Pascal's wager, it also has to do with heaven and hell, right? So,
yeah, but the idea itself and the concept, and I think for people who do think like that, because we're not trying to just criticize or ridicule the comment and refute it with examples. I really just want, before you have that closed off view, because clearly you don't, even though the comment seems as if you do, you were commenting on our video that you watched, so you do feel as if you want to challenge yourself and understand it better. And I think you should do that because we're on the same path as you, and through questioning and understanding, you can become closer. Pascal,
this young woman who made that statement too, I think is coming from the perspective that at least Judaism, right, or religion, for her, religion is faith alone. I believe, and that's religion. And that's not Judaism. Judaism is not a faith-based discipline, right? I mean, obviously, faith is an integral component of being a Jew, but Judaism is about mitzvot. Judaism is about commandments. Judaism is about doing. It's about recognizing in certain circumstances how to elevate that circumstance to a level of holiness so that you're doing it in a spiritually righteous way, right? That's why, by the way, Rambam, Maimonides, he's a legalist. He's dealing with law. And if you were to say to this young woman, religion is law, that would probably be confusing. So, the last thing I was going to say is that we're warned at the end of the Torah, right? One of the great warnings at the end of the Torah by Moses is once you enter the land of Israel and your crops grow and you've got a beautiful home and an era of peace has been ushered in, don't allow yourself to grow haughty and arrogant and think to yourself, look what I did with my hands. I did this all by myself, right? Science and technology sometimes lead people to believe, look, I've done this all myself, right? And in reality, all of this, everything that we touch and see is a gift from God. So if I often ask people, you ask this young woman, who cured polio? And her answer would be Jonas Salk. And that's the wrong answer. Jonas Salk was able to put together, right, the pieces that have always been in existence, put them together because of his intellect to make the puzzle connect so that way he could present a cure for polio.
So, like, essentially, like, comparing that just to another example, it's kind of like Lego pieces. Like, sure, you can buy a Lego box and you're the one that built that Lego spaceship or car, but ultimately the one who put that together was Lego Company.
Right. So if God gives us the pieces, by the way, these are two, in some ways, mutually exclusive philosophies. Rambam, who says, the pursuit of intellect, right? That's the closer you get. And then what I'm talking about is somebody, Ramchal, who says, look, it's all already there, right? God created the world, handed you the Lego box and said, all right, put it together. Make sure you do it right.
So kind of like in line with like deism. Sorry.
Yeah, so deism, of course, it's the philosophy almost. It's a religious philosophy where God, and it's the belief that God created the universe and left it alone. It's letting nature take its course.
And like intellectually, like Sir Isaac Newton, Blaise Pascal at one point until like his life was kind of crazy. And Galileo, all of them were deists. And like, yeah, did you want to explain more on that?
Yeah, I wanted to, could you almost compare it to like Isaac Newton and his discovery of gravity? Because I mean, gravity was always a thing. It's a fundamental force of the universe, but he was just able to, and he was he was semi-religious, by the way, just not in Judaism, but he was a religious man. But he was able to almost tap into that, hey, what's the equation that I can write for this?
So who's the first Jew?
Abraham.
Abraham. Good. Abraham Avinu, right? We just read it last week. Lech lecha me'artzecha u'moladacha me'beit avicha la'asher reka. Go forth for yourself, right? Lech lecha. That's the call. Now, the Sfat Emet has this amazing idea, which is exactly what you're talking about, right? The idea of one God had always been in existence, right? But people turned, for whatever reason, people turned towards idolatry. They turned towards paganism. They turned towards, having multiple gods, right? So God cries out, Lech lecha, go for yourself. Remind yourself there's only one God. Who did he call out to? The Sfat Emet says he called out to the entire world. Every single human being. But only Abraham had his spiritual antenna, calibrated enough to understand none of this other stuff makes sense. Abraham's the first Jew only because he was the one who was spiritually able to see it. But it was always there, right? So that's the same concept, which is really beautiful, right? Gravity. It's always there. You just got to be in tune in order to understand what it is. Now, on a religious level, this becomes pretty complicated and beautiful, right? Because then if you're a deist, right, God's left everything alone, then you realize as a Jew that that's not necessarily the case, right? The Lego box doesn't come with just a bunch of Legos. What else does it come with?
Instructions.
Bingo. It comes with instructions. What's the instruction manual?
Yeah.
The Torah. Right? But unlike the instruction manual in a Lego box, which says exactly what to do, the Torah is an enigma, right? The Torah is complicated and is revealed over time as people bright enough, smart enough, intellectually aware enough, and localized in text enough to see what the rest of us don't.
Wow.
That's why we look at the Midrash. That's why we look at the Talmud, right? Because if you just read the text by yourself, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. Wow.